Well, hello everybody. It is Sunday afternoon, and you know what that means. It's time to take a trip to Josh's world. I know the title is a bit, I don't know, meh. But you know what? It reminds me of back in the day when I used to watch things like Bobby's World, and now it's Josh's world. No! Okay, not great. But off to a great start, sure. Yeah, whatever. In this episode, I am going to talk about how people talk to each other online, whether it is under the guise of an anonymous pseudonym or if people are just using the real names. Because honestly, hold on, let me throw this graphic up. Yeah. Honestly, I used to think that back in the day, when you were allowed to just create whatever name you wanted to put forward out there for everybody to see, that it would create more dissension, more arguing, because people were allowed to A, put out their unfiltered thoughts without any fear of reprisal, and B, because they could put out the things that they don't believe and just troll along happy as can be. What had actually happened though, Facebook came along, and what do you know? People will actually use their real names to talk a lot of trash. And maybe even more so. I mean, to the point where people are losing their jobs because of the things they say online. And I'm not going to say that it's right or wrong that somebody gets fired for something they say online, but it does get to the point where if somebody says something bad enough that their employer, it's brought to their attention and that they see that person as a representation of their company, then I'm not opposed to action being taken because I personally wouldn't want somebody out there representing me or my brand engaging in some sort of awful online warfare against people that think differently than them. Now, there are a lot of things that have been said on this show, as well as things like the podcast, Scott, just across the board that a lot of people don't agree with. And I get the messages about how I'm this, how I'm that. And I wish I could say that everything just floated off me. Everything just slid off like duck off of water off a duck's back. But it's not the case because sometimes, there is a low blow in there that's like, I can't believe you raise your kids to believe that. Well, first of all, I don't raise my kids to believe everything I believe. I raise them to analyze and figure out their own answers. Because I don't think people can function properly if they're told everything to believe. So I do keep an eye on what their influences are and try to be a discerning parent without being overbearing. Sometimes it's a fine line. Sometimes you do have to step in, but that's a topic for a different show. Right now, though, as we speak, there are probably no less than 100,000 people online arguing. I'm not just saying just online because there are millions of people online at all times, but I say hundreds of the thousands actively engaged in an online argument for any number of reasons. And quite frankly, that is also disheartening. There was hopefully a time, at least I remember a time, when people would sit face to face and talk about the things that they like, the things that they believe, and we're able to get through a conversation without, resorting to name calling, or at least the kind of name calling that people are up to these days. You can disagree with someone about the Snyderverse movies, and suddenly they're doing like a full blown background check on you. It's like, what? You just have a difference of opinion on movies, and you want to dig that deep because of something you may or may not like. Personally, when I engage in any kind of conversation online, it's less about trying to put forward how, or it's not trying to convince people to think how I think. I know that's weird for me because I'm weird. I revel in it. I understand who I am and love it. But it's not my job to force people to think what I think. Especially when it comes something such as something as irrelevant as what entertainment you like. Now, it doesn't matter what the platform is, Facebook, Twitter, or whatever else is out there. People are going to have opinions, and that's cool. Opinions are cool. But to simplify the justification of your opinion by destroying somebody else's is so bad. I don't need to rake Batman versus Superman over the coals because I didn't care for it. I've been upfront about that since like the first trailer came out. I was like, "Oh, this is not looking great." And what happened? I watched the movie. I didn't care for it, and I have my reasons. And if somebody wants to go into those reasons, I'm more than happy to explain why I didn't like it. But when you get the retort that, oh, you don't like it because you're a Marvel fanboy. No, that's, I mean, I am a Marvel fanboy. That's goes without question. But in my opinion, that's completely irrelevant to the conversation. I'm not knocking something just because I like something else. When I like something, it's generally because I just like it. It stands alone by itself. If I don't like something, same reasons. I don't need to compare two things and dog on one just because I like another thing. And the Snyderverse is just a drop in the bucket compared to some of the other things people are going to argue about online. The things that people will so adamantly fight for. Now, I think if you've been on Facebook or Twitter for more than 5 minutes, you might have seen, oh, I don't know, a conversation too about politics. I'm not going to start that debate here, no matter what my personal belief is. But it's essentially the same across the board when it comes to politics. Because you can take those same words, change out a few, nouns and pronouns, and apply it to so many other facets of life. I hate you because of this. I hate you because you're on. You know what? That's the thing. Everyone seems to be picking teams. You're either team this or team that. You're a Republican or Democrat. There's no space for anybody else. You're Xbox or PlayStation. your WWE or AEW, your DC, your Marvel. And each of these groups has such a die-hard fan base that they will do anything to crush somebody that likes something else. No, it's not. It's not the entire groups. Amber in the chat says, no politics, no religion. I'm not getting into it, I promise. And yes, she also mentions back in the day, Sega versus Nintendo, the original console wars, when lines were being drawn. But now even Nintendo's not a competitor. I mean, don't get me wrong, they sell massive units, but everyone seems to agree that if you're going to buy two things, make one, an Xbox or a PlayStation, make the other one a Switch. So it seems like they've become the Switzerland where everybody just gets along with Nintendo. And I don't really see any Nintendo haters anywhere. I might not be looking hard enough, but the point is, when your whole argument is based on how much what the other person likes sucks, then to me, you've already lost. That's the first thing that a lot of people go to when it comes to online arguments. The whataboutism, as it's been called. Wind's kicking up outside. What about this? What about that? What about your thing? That sucks. Well, that doesn't really apply to the topic. I said I didn't like Wonder Woman 84. Oh, Marvel fanboy likes that crappy Captain Marvel movie. Well, I kind of enjoyed it. It's not my top 20 Marvel movies, but you know what? It was fine. But that has nothing to do with why I didn't care for Wonder Woman 84. Sure, there can be an apples to apples comparison made about female-led superhero movies, but if anything, I would compare Captain Marvel to the first Wonder Woman movie, of which I actually did enjoy more. But just the thought that somebody's going to try to dismiss my thoughts because it wasn't in line with theirs. So they bring something else up. Something tangentially related at best. What about Lesnar's ponytail? Yeah, I thought it was pretty intense. Looks like Brock Lesnar hasn't. You know what? We'll go to that real quick. Last night, SummerSlam took place on a Saturday for some reason. And at the very end of the show, spoilers. Well, those are good. Spoilers for the end of SummerSlam, Brock Lesnar showed up. And this fits in nicely with the topic of the moment. Immediately after it happens, there is a divide between WWE and AEW fans. Not just fans, but capital letters fans. And the first thread that I stumbled across was, why is Brock Lesnar back? Old man needs to stay gone. WWE needs to start putting over new talent. Well, kids, Brock Lesnar's a draw. And the fact that they've been pushing Roman so hard means that they are they're going to want a big match. And after Roman so handily defeated John Cena last night, it's where do you go from there? Of course, you go to Brock. Makes sense. It's logical. It's fine. Does it make the product any less cringy? No. But at least this kind of makes sense. Now, there are people that will say Brock Lesnar returning is not good for whatever reasons. And there are some people that will go along with that line of thinking, but also bring in the fact that CM Punk made his return to wrestling. You know, here's the thing. Suddenly they flip everything around. The WWE fans are saying, CM Punk, he's old, washed up. He hasn't been in the ring in so long. Nobody cares. Blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah, no, you just don't care because it's not your team. CM Punk returning is a big deal. Brock Lesnar returning is a big deal. Both of these guys returning is a big deal. I'd say CM Punk returning has a little bit more historical importance because he has been gone so long. But the fact of the matter is there were two very big returns and more than that, I know. Becky Lynch also returned at SummerSlam, won the title. And if you would oblige me 10 seconds to talk about that. Why? I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Becky. That's not why I'm saying why, but the squash, 27 seconds, something like that. It was, you spent so much time and just to have it roll. Anyway, you know, this isn't a wrestling podcast. But, you know, sometimes it's relevant. But the fact of the matter is, people want you to choose sides. You're not allowed to like two things. Or if you're going to like two things, they can't be diametrically opposed things. You can't like DC and Marvel. Well, guess what? I do. The James Gunn Suicide Squad, awesome. Loved it. Wonder Woman, big fan. Shazam, enjoyed it. Yeah, I liked it. Everything mainline Snyderverse, directed by the man himself, not a fan. But of course, I'm not a fan of Snyder's style to begin with. Should that reflect on me, the type of person that I am? Should that open up the door for somebody to insult not only my intelligence, my taste, and my ability to parent? No. Those things shouldn't be. Judge John Hodgman settled this already a long time ago. People are allowed to like what they like. Period. If you want to like DC and Marvel, guess what? You're loud. If you want to like Apex Legends and Warzone, cool. Because you can play both. Not at the same time. It's really weird. But if you want to have conservative ideologies and liberal ideologies, like most people, then by all means do that. You already have enough people out in the world trying to put you in a box without you putting yourself into one. You know how you feel. And nobody else does until you say so. And when you put out how you feel, you have, in my opinion, an obligation to do so with at least a tiny bit of decorum. Because not every internet conversation has to devolve into name calling and suddenly someone's a Nazi. Don't confuse this fact, because there are Nazis. that deserve to be called out. It's a thing. But the more you say someone is a Nazi for thinking CM Punk coming back is a bigger return than Brock Lesnar, then sorry, you're kind of taking the poison out of the word. Oh, you know how it is. Amber asks, "Who did you piss off?" It's just the nature of the internet beast. People don't know how to communicate without being dicks. And I'm speaking very generally. And you know what? Crap, I lost it. But no, I didn't lose it. My phone said I did come up with this handy dandy card of things to remember when you're, you know, conversing online. First of all, stay away from hyperbole. It's not helpful to anybody. You can say, this is the best thing ever. I saw somebody, and I'm not trying to kick Zack Snyder in the balls or anything, but there was a guy. There was a guy in the movie The Action Group. You might have heard about it on the podcast, but no lie, he thinks the greatest movie ever made is Justice League. And this was before the Snyder Cut came out. He said, this is the greatest movie of all time. I'm like, you mean superhero movie, right? No. It's better than The Godfather. It's better than Shawshank. It's better than Casablanca and Citizen Kane. It's better than The Goonies. Again, I'm a firm believer in you can like what you want, but sometimes things are just objectively false. Justice League is not the greatest movie ever made. It's not the greatest superhero movie ever made. It is not even the best Zack Snyder movie ever made, including the Snyder Cut. Because him and Whedon get a little bit of shared credit for the first cut, but it's none of those things. It's not the best DC movie by far. Because we live in a world where the Dark Knight exists. We live in a world where Christopher Reeves was Superman. Some of the greatest stuff ever. And I'll even take it a step further. It's not even the best movie that was probably released that weekend. Okay, that might be a little bit of a stretch, but the fact of the matter is, using really grandiose language to fight for what you believe makes you look dumb. My thing is the best ever. Well, I'm glad you like it more than everything. That means you're very happy with what you have. Personally, I did not care for it as much as you. Well, that means you're an idiot and you didn't grasp what was going on. That very well could be. But what I'm saying is, this is what I feel is the best. And here are my reasons. Timing. No, but avoid hyperbolic language. It's crazy how people just exaggerate to make a point. Everybody's this, everybody's that. No, everybody's not one thing. Everybody's different. And to treat everybody the same is disingenuous because people deserve to be treated how they act. You don't treat any group of people in any particular way just because of the group that they're affiliated with. Okay, Nazis. You got me there. Okay, fine. That one is, yeah, treat them as such. But unless they are Nazis, I guess, then everybody should be really, you know what? Even then, if they identify as a Nazi, then you go, I can adequately judge you as a person. But if they identify as, I don't know, a PlayStation player, and you're like, Xbox is better, or PC Master Race. By the way, who are the ones using the Master Race term here? Yeah. As I say this, sitting in front of a PC. But the idea that I'm trying to put out there is there's a better way. If you want to make an argument, put out your argument. You don't have to resort to name calling or calling out people. There's a way to be respectful in arguments. There's a way to have actual discourse with people that sometimes would violently disagree with you on any range of topics. But I think most importantly, if we can get away from the idea that we have to pick teams, that we have to choose sides for anything, we can start doing a better job of reconnecting as human beings to each other. Because long before there was Facebook or Twitter, there was face-to-face. Yeah, there were phones too and letters. But imagine looking at the letters between, say, Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr, two guys that were destined to meet on the dueling grounds. They were sure kind of. I'm trying to figure out exactly what it was, because it was flowery and eloquent, because that's what the guys were. When you work with words, you have a way of putting your thoughts out there in a very lovely way. I don't think anybody is going to be at that level of wordsmith when it comes to arguing online. Hell, you can't even get people to spell things correctly. And yes, that is kind of a pet peeve of mine. It's only Facebook. We don't need to spell it right. No, because it's Facebook, you have to spell it right. Why? Because this is basically, for all intents and purposes, the public record now. What you put out there, it's out there. It doesn't go away. It's the internet. It lasts forever. And when people go back and see the things that you wrote, regardless of the stance you take and what it may be on, those spelling issues are going to look bad. Can you imagine? And I see this happening in say 20, 40, 100 years, whatever the case may be. It gets to the point where we have history classes, high school, college, whatever. And the idea is they go through old Facebook messages, posts, and read the comments of the day. And sometimes it's really easy to tell who takes this seriously. And you can easily tell who doesn't. The ones that are out there putting words out in public like they're in public. And then the ones that are all caps, a bunch of misspelling, and screaming at people to take me seriously. Sorry, it's kind of difficult when you lack what looks like a fourth grade education. Yeah, some people on the internet deserve to be taken seriously more than others. This is just, in my opinion, facts. Interesting term there, opinion, facts in the same sentence. But I look at it this way. I follow several Facebook pages when it comes to the culinary arts. And every once in a while, there would be an argument of sorts about what goes with what and how you should season this over that. And, it's at the end of the day, it's dumb because people just need to, again, like what they like. You don't need to knock somebody for this. This is what I got onto the other day. Ketchup. It's like someone's like, "You're a monster if you put ketchup on a hot dog." Well, I guess I'm a monster. Everybody comes from a different place. Everybody comes from a different background. Everybody is different. We don't need to further any kind of divide for petty differences. There are differences that definitely deserve that kind of uh, thorough thrashing. Racism. Someone says, it's America. I can be racist if I want. Yeah, you can in the privacy of your own home, in the privacy of your own friend groups, but don't take it to the streets. There's no protection there. And quite frankly, I feel if you want to go out and loudly be a racist, then you kind of deserve whatever happens to you. Am I wrong for thinking that? When you put yourself in a position of having a very unpopular opinion, like your race is superior to others, you should know by now, it's the 21st century, that it's an unpopular opinion. Maybe you were raised in an environment where this was the line of thought for your family and your friends. But everybody in the world is not your family and your friends. So when you get onto the public square and you start saying these things, genocide and whatnot, it's going to be frowned upon. And sometimes it's going to be punched upon. Do I believe that anybody has the right to hurt somebody else physically or emotionally? No, I don't believe it's a right. But if somebody's willing to face the consequences of shouting hate speech, and yes, that is a real thing, then somebody should be able to wait on themselves. Is this worth getting in trouble for? Now, again, the big similarity that I have between both of these examples, even though it's one example, but both sides of this example, neither side is exempt from the consequences of their actions. And that's the internet in a nutshell. Nobody's facing consequences for their repeatedly bad behavior, it seems. Yeah, we got some people that wind up in Facebook jail for a while. I got warned. Because I quoted basketball, right? In the movie addiction group, somebody made a reference to basketball, and I was like, it's a basketball reference. I thought I was the only one that enjoyed this movie. And so I wrote down a quote from the movie, and Facebook was like, no, we're warning you, clean up your act. I'm like, this is the only time ever where Facebook was like, we're watching you. It's like, I just quoted a movie, and then I challenged the warning, and they were like, nope, we stand by what we did. What? I quoted a movie. Did that deserve consequences? I think not. Brandon, my Spaceballs. You ever seen Spaceballs? I knew it. I'm surrounded by assholes. But kind of lost my train of thought there. People go head to head in comment sections and tweets and just viciously rip each other apart for having a difference of opinion. When in, a mature world, I suppose, we would be discussing our ideas and explain why we feel they're better. This is how I feel about this. And here's why. Oh, well, I see that is your opinion. I disagree with it based on this reason and this reason. And I respond with, this is how I feel about this. No, it's not going to play out like that because, people don't speak like that anymore in reality. But it could go something like that in the way where saying, here's a conversation. Man, CM Punk returning to wrestling was awesome. Could be the biggest return of the year. I don't know, man. Brock Lesnar came back. And that's some big news, especially considering Roman Reigns just beat the crap out of John Cena. This could be a big match in the future. Yeah, that's a valid point. Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns again. It's not exactly something I'm looking forward to, but I can understand why it would be a big deal. But CM Punk, he's almost got a whole generation of wrestlers that we haven't been able to see him wrestle against. There are dream matches upon dream matches just waiting to go in AEW. Yeah, I can see why you'd be excited about that. CM Punk returning is kind of a big deal for AEW. For wrestling in general, I can admit that. But I think the thing to remember is we can both look forward to our respective matches in the future. Agreed. Boom. People getting along. I like PlayStation. I think it's the best console on the planet. Oh, yeah? I like Xbox. I think it's the best console on the planet. This is why I like PlayStation. This is why I like Xbox. Those are good reasons. Yeah, I think you have good reasons too. Here's what doesn't help. Your stuff you like is trash, and you are trash for liking it. That helps nothing. I'm just going to go ahead, get the Facebook up. Okay. Just happens to be up on a wrestling Facebook page. Open up the comments. Nick Khan explains a recent string of WWE releases. For those of you unaware, the WWE has went on a firing spree as of late. A lot of people cut. It is what it is. First comment. He's like a politician, good at avoiding the question. They are blind to the truth that the current product and talent are failing because of them. Budget cuts are all in for the next comment. Ridiculous thing to think that Wyatt Black and others couldn't work in the present or down the road. Cool story, Con. Corporate speak as expected. Oh, here's one. Trump was watching Vince's back all along with his rich buddies. Pandemic plus no Trump equals WWE's WWE's bad business is finally catching up with them. How is that relevant to anything? Chris Moran post just crap. Yeah, I guess. How about you should get released? No, the person says needed to pay Brock for a few suplexes. Someone else says budget cuts, but can bring back Cena and Goldberg and both lose at SummerSlam. Someone else says, who? Not very argumentative, but definitely not very constructive. From Chris Jericho's Facebook page, Nikki Bella revealed she was not allowed to attend SummerSlam. Whoever did that, thank you so much. Maybe she burned some bridges. And don't you find it funny that Chris Jericho's Facebook page usually finds this stuff out for anybody else and he's not even affiliated with WWE? Thank you, WWE and John Cena, for that small favor. Not a flattering picture. Okay. It says Bray Wyatt going to AEW and Goldberg's match went longer than expected. Yeah, I was surprised at how long that match went to. Someone else says, oh, well, there goes the mic. Oh, boo. Oh, boo-hoo. All about her as always. She's as bad as Becky Lynch thinking everything is about her. What? What did Becky do? She had a baby and came back. And then someone says, bozo. No. Then someone else says, a woman who thinks she's a man, or is he? What? See, it hurts my brain sometimes to get on Facebook and read these comments. I said a while back, reading Facebook comments should be a sign of self-torture. It's definitely a form of sadomasochism. People are terrible. People are the worst. People are the worst thing ever. And I do not want to be associated with the term. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody. I would argue that at sometimes, in some ways, I am better at. We'll scratch that. We'll take away better and say more respectful. Because even with a guy that was like, Justice League is the greatest movie ever made, I was never, you are wrong and you suck for thinking that. I can't say I didn't think it. But I didn't think that, A, it was worth getting to an argument about. And B, why start an argument over somebody's opinion of a movie? There are real things that need to be argued about. The video games, wrestling, comic books, movies, those are not it. You can have civil discussions. You can have heated discussions. But when everything breaks down and it becomes an us versus them mentality, and everything and everyone gets lumped up into two categories of with us or against us, then that only expedites the downfall of a union. And I know what you think. Did it just equate people arguing about pro wrestling to civil war? Kinda. Because if people can't be respectable about dumb stuff, I think over the last few years, we've learned people have just learned stop being respectful at the highest level. Remember, you used to be able to watch a political debate and it was about the issues, or in most politicians' cases, how to avoid the question. First, by saying, that's an excellent question, and then thinking, one that I'm never going to answer. But even even on the biggest stages, from the highest levels, you have people that are resorting to name calling and lying and doing things that would absolutely be disrespectful, not only to themselves, their opponents, but also the office that they're trying to attain. We used to have a little something called common decency. We had filters. Not everybody was born with a filter, but it seems like they are going the way of the buffalo, getting fewer and fewer. And if we don't learn how to talk to each other soon, then I don't know what's in store for us as a whole. If we don't learn to control the way we speak, the way we interact, and the way we feel about opposition, then quite frankly, there is absolutely no hope for anybody on this planet. Because if I've learned anything over the close to 40 years of me being alive, it's you can take out your opposition, you can crush them, you can get rid of them, wipe out their very existence. Whatever it was that you disagreed on, whether it's somebody's right to exist or whether it's somebody's property line, wars. If you get rid of the thing you hate the most, you're just going to move on to the next thing you hate the most. And the next thing. And the next thing. Until eventually, it's only you. To some people, that sounds ideal. having only people that think like them in the world. But think about this, and think about what I said. Everybody's different. If you get rid of everybody that's not brown haired, and only brown haired people are left, then you get rid of everybody that's not brown eyed, then you only have people with brown eyes left. Then you get rid of everybody with colored fingernails. Then you get rid of everybody with innies instead of outies. Then you get rid of everybody with attached earlobes versus detached. And eventually, you're going to get so nitpicky because you filled yourself with nothing but hate that the only thing left standing is you. That's if you're successful. That's if you win. But if you keep hating and if you keep trying to fuel and divide, and then I don't want to hear any of this person's doing this or that company's doing that. No. The first thing to stop doing is pointing fingers of blame. Because you are responsible the way you feel. Always. You are responsible for how you act. Always. And if you're the kind of person that lets somebody so easily influence you to do things that you don't want to do, I don't know what to tell you. Because that doesn't make them responsible for you. Because you're still responsible for you. And it's up to you to make smarter choices. And if you ask me, and since this is my show, I'm assuming you are, then I suggest you do this. Stop the hate. You don't have to hate an Xbox user because they like Xbox or any of the other crazy things that I've mentioned, to where people will just spew vitriol and call people names and say so many disgusting things just because somebody likes something different. It starts with you. Check yourself. You know what? That's going to do it for me this week. Went on for about an hour. What I will say is, hey, Amber, thanks for dropping in the chat. You know I love you. Always glad to have you around. Going over here. If you want to learn more about the things that I do here at s3e4 Studios, like Josh's World of the Wadcast, you can go to the Facebook page. Facebook.com/s3e4, something like that. Just look up s3e4 Studios on Facebook. You'll be able to find it. Also, if you want to hear me and Guy named Brandon talk about movies and stuff, every Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, you can listen to the Wadcast, which you can find more stuff here, facebook.com/the Wadcast. Hey, do you like merch? I have merch. I'll sell it to you. tpublic.com/user/s3e4. Cool stuff there. Even if you don't buy anything, check it out. Let me know what you think. And you can do that by hitting me up at SkidComic. I probably should have made a banner for that, but I didn't. Hit me up at SkidComic on Twitter if you think it's pretty cool. Like I said, even if you don't buy anything, just some feedback, some thoughts, opinions. But if you do like what I do and you feel like, I don't know, throwing down a couple of bucks every month, maybe even $1 a month, go to patreon.com/s3e4. I'm in need of a couple of things, and everybody, every little bit it helps. Normally I would have a webcam going so you can see my face as I'm making these impassioned pleas, but unfortunately it's not working, so I gotta replace it. And you know how it is, beginning of the school year, things are kind of tight. Got 3 kids. They apparently like to wear clothes and have school supplies. So that's where the vast majority of my money goes. No, I'm not asking for sympathy because being, my job as dad is number one, first and foremost. I will say, though, that podcast host extraordinary is my number two. Sorry, regular job. You may pay me more, but it doesn't hold a candle to sitting in front of a microphone. So anyway, that's been it for Josh's World this week. Thank you all for dropping by. I really enjoy doing this. It's a little therapeutic. I'm not sure what, you know what? Before I go, I'm gonna throw this out to the chat. If you're out there listening to me right now and you have an idea of what I should talk about next week, throw it in the comments, and I will whatever it is, I will announce it. That is going to be the topic. The first topic that comes up, I will make that the topic for next week. So that way, if you're listening to this, then you'll have a good sense of what's coming next week. So I know there's some people out there. Just go ahead and throw those ideas up in the comments. I want to do it before I sign off. Oh, Amber says, because I am a great dad. Oh, you're so sweet. Hoping to have that idea. Somebody want to throw that out there? Oh, by the way, Brandon and I entered into a TV screenwriting competition. We got our feedback back, and we had some pretty good notes. We didn't do anything poorly. In fact, we got a couple of excellents in there, and a couple of really goods, and all in all, I'd say it was nice feedback for the project. All right. Well, if you're listening to this on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, whatever, then feel free to throw down some suggestions for topics of me rambling, and I will take a look at those. And sometime during the week, maybe on the Twitter, maybe on the Facebook page, definitely on one of those, most likely the Facebook page, I will put together the event for next Sunday afternoon, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, and we will meet again. I would like to, I'm going to have to get this soundbite that says, "You are now leaving Josh's world."